Hi, Pastor Thomas here, and we're looking at the Lord's Prayer. And today we're going to look at the sixth petition, which is the last petition. And a petition, again, is just asking God to help us, to do something for us or for Him. And the sixth petition is, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And what does it mean when we pray, lead us not into temptation and deliver us from evil? We're asking God to keep us from being tempted and to make us strong enough to resist it when we are tempted. We're asking God to keep us from being tempted and to make us strong enough to resist it when we are being tempted. So firstly, what is temptation? Temptation is a big word that I know you know what it actually is once I explain it. It's happened to all of us. Maybe you're making some cookies with your mom or your dad, and you stir the dough and it just smells so good. You put it in the oven and you cook it and it just smells so delicious. And then they get pulled out of the oven and they get put on the stove, and the smell, oh boy, they smell like good cookies. And your tummy begins to rumble and you think you're just so hungry, and your mom or your dad turns to you and says, we're not going to eat the cookies right now, we're going to save them for dessert. And your mom and dad leave the room, but oh boy, those cookies just smell so good. And that's what temptation is. Temptation is stuck between these two sides. Now on one side you have what your mom and dad have asked you to do or not to do, and that's not eat the cookies. But on the other side, which is the wrong side, is to eat the cookies, to disobey and to eat the cookies. And that's what temptation is. It draws you to the wrong side. It draws you to the wrong side to do the wrong thing. And that's what temptation is. And we're drawn to do the wrong thing and not just disobey our parents, but disobey God. And this is what we're asking God to keep us from being tempted. That we're asking God to keep us from those situations. And it might not be cookies on a tray. It might be candy in a jar. It might be that your mom or dad have told you you're only allowed to watch one episode on the TV, or you're only allowed 15 minutes of screen time, but no one else is in the room to tell you, so you hit the button. You're tempted to hit that button to watch another episode. You're tempted to reach for that candy. You're tempted to play some more of your video game. And that's what tempted is. But when we pray and lead us not into temptation, we're asking God to keep us from being tempted. And that might mean that we actually are kept from temptation, that we walk out of the room, that the cookies wouldn't be in front of it, the smell wouldn't be before us. That we put the remote down, we turn the TV off, and we walk outside of the room. We don't keep on looking and staring at the candy and just thinking how delicious it might be, that we walk out and we start to think of other things that we might be able to do that aren't actually disobeying what our parents have told us to do. So that's the first part when we pray and lead us not into temptation, but we're also praying to deliver us from evil. And what we're praying there is we're asking God to make us strong enough to resist it when we are tempted. We're asking God to make us strong enough to resist it when we are tempted. And sometimes we can't walk out of the room. We're stuck at home and we can't go outside because it's raining, but you have an annoying brother or sister. And all you want to do is do the wrong thing, go down the wrong path. You want to hit them, you want to call them mean names because no one else can see you. But you can't walk out of the room, or you can't walk out of the house, because that's just sometimes what brothers or sisters do. They're just annoying. You're stuck in a car and you can't just hop out of the car because the car is moving. So what we're actually doing is we're asking God to make us strong enough to resist the temptation when we are tempted. So what we are doing is we're asking God to make us strong enough. And again, throughout all of the Lord's Prayer, We realize that we're asking God to do these things because we cannot do them ourselves. We're asking God to help us. We're asking God to keep us. We're asking God to make us stronger. We're asking God to provide what we really need. We're asking God to forgive us for Jesus' sake. We're asking God that His name would be holy, that other people might hear the gospel. We're asking God, and this is what we're doing in the Lord's Prayer, that we're asking God to do all these things because we can't do it. Because left to our own devices, left in that situation, we're going to be drawn to be tempted. We're going to be drawn to be mean to our brother. We're going to be drawn to do these things, but we need God's help. And that's one of the biggest things we need to learn when we pray the Lord's Prayer, is we're asking God to do these things, to keep us from being tempted, to make us strong enough so that to resist it when we are tempted. And that's why we pray, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.